take from my bed to the floor. 5, 6, 7, 8. Will today be rough or will today be great? 9, 10, 11, 12. Lately I've been going through hell. 13, 14, 15, 16. Today's the day. Are you coming? Are you sick of being normal? I'm sick of being average. I'm sick of being mortal. I'm about to be a savage. I see a lot of things that I want, I will have them. I got a new mindset that I just established. I'll march through the cold with the nails on the pavement. I'll shovel that coal just to get out the basement. My story will be told, helping others make changes. I'll be so bold, they will watch in amazement.
Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it. Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it.
Foot up on the pedal, pushing hard to the metal. Make a deal with the devil. Channel rage through my vessel into something that is special. Energy of a rebel, going up a level. I just wanna be greatness. I could feel changes, turn a new page and tie up my laces. I will be the bravest, break out of my cages. I will not be nameless, I will not be aimless.
Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it. Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it.
What's going on, Locked In Nation? What is going on? Welcome back to the Locked In Podcast, episode 209. 209 after our After Hours episode last week. Welcome back to the podcast. Returning guest from last week, Rich Mitchell, OGs of the podcast. Rich, what's up, brother? Thanks for taking the time to come in tonight.
What's up, bro? Always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, man, appreciate you. Yeah, shout out to everyone that came on last week, too. We defined kind of what a healthy relationship looks like to each of us on the podcast. We talked a little bit about lust versus unconditional love, and then we talked a little bit about, towards the end, about the pros and cons of dating app culture. But ultimately, we had Rich on, we had Mario on, Rob LaVenture was on, and then Candace Scott was on as well. So that was actually a pretty good discussion. It went pretty long too. It went a couple hours. So it was one of our later episodes. But it was a good episode nonetheless. We have a good episode next week too. But in the middle of this is also a good episode tonight. What we're talking about is avoiding societal temptation. This can go for both men and women. Obviously, we're talking from the perspective of men, but this can be men and women. But societal temptation, ultimately, how to live life with intent through God's divine will. We'll talk about how to lock in, how to focus, how to prioritize your goals, and ultimately limit the landscape for temptation. Because temptation today is crazy. I'm not saying temptation was never a thing, in other generations, but today, with the availability of social media, the internet, temptations are crazier than ever. This can come to being able to DoorDash alcohol, being able to get drugs more prevalently. This can come to pornography, using your cell phone. You can just access it right in the palm of your hand, and you can do it in the quiet of your home where nobody can really know that you're struggling with an addiction. This can go strip clubs, just lustful thoughts in general, anything, you know what I mean? Gambling, sports betting has become heavy now, and it used to be illegal. Now it's like legalized in a ton of states. including the tri-state area. So there's a lot of vices out there, a lot of temptations. We're going to talk a little bit about how to navigate the storms that come our way when it comes to those temptations, because we all see them, we all face them. And there's some external ones that we just can't control. You know, they're going to come across you in different ways, but how to react in those circumstances. If you're prepared, how to handle those storms when you face them, you're going to be better equipped when it comes down to it. So we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. And we'll get into it. So, guys, I want to say before we really hop into the content here, if you are watching on YouTube and you're not already subscribed, you know what to do. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button too, because it helps us out. And that little notification bell that you see, hit that bell to turn notifications on, because we release content every single week. It's either related to personal development or sports. By the way, we got the Eagles drafting tonight with the NFL draft going on. So if you like content related to sports or personal development, you don't want to miss that content. Hit that bell. If you're watching on Facebook, I'm assuming you're already part of the community in that case. So in that case, thank you. Still hit the like button. It really, really helps us out with the algorithm. And YouTube, Facebook, it doesn't matter. Comment in tonight, guys. We want to have a discussion with you guys. What do you think we can do to avoid societal temptation? If you have some strategies of your own and you face some temptations, put some strategies into the group chat too. We can all have a conversation and some feedback. So appreciate it, guys. Like we said, that NFL draft's going too. Rich, you got it on, right? You got the draft in the background?
Yeah. They drafted Cam Ward #1 right now. I mean, the Tennessee Titans drafted Cam Ward at #1. So that's what we got going so far, man.
Cool. So we got Cam Ward off the board to start. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. If this was a sports episode, I would probably put a tracker up here, somewhere. So
that would be fire, man.
Yeah, I can still do it. What are the Eagles drafting tonight?
We're at 32, dog. We want, Super Bowl winners, so we always in the back.
That's what I figured. I thought we were like 30, 31, or 32. Yeah, no. So yeah, at the very end. So I'm gonna trade away that. I have a feeling. I was telling Rich this. I have a feeling the Eagles are gonna trade away the pick at midnight.
How he might trade up though. There's a possibility for that. That's the question. I feel like it's going to be a trade. I'm just curious if we're going to trade up or back. That's my question.
Yeah, what do you think we need? We need defense for sure.
100%. I think our offense is squared away. Maybe we might get tight end, because they're trying to get rid of Dallas Goedert. So they might use Dallas Goedert as trade bait during the draft to trade him in a draft pick and send somewhere, and then we go and we draft. The one guy I can see us trading up for is Abdul Carter is probably the one guy I can see us, like, if he drops far enough, which I doubt it, but
I think they're gonna go.
Philly really wants.
Yeah, I think they're gonna get a defensive tackle. They're gonna get someone in the trenches. I think is probably the first pick. That's what I think. Trenches guy on the D side. You lose Milton Williams, you lost Josh Sweat. They need to fill the trenches, and then they definitely got to improve the safety spot too. Losing C.J. Gardner-Johnson, that's a big loss. That loss confused me, to be honest. I wasn't really sure I don't know. Hey, I'll let Howie work. You know what I mean? I'll let him cook. I'll let him see what we can do here.
Side note, I don't want to turn this into a sports one, but I got some new information this morning about that. Actually, is that Brian Dawkins was actually talking about it this morning, and he was saying, they were asking him, was he surprised about it? And he was like, yes and no. He was like a little surprised, but not that much, because he was doing podcast episodes. He was up there like kind of like threatening Travis Kelce, like, oh, if you want to meet somewhere, like, and then on top of that, I think it has to do with his behavior. That's still Jason Kelce's brother. Jason Kelce's still a big figure in the organization. So, to come at someone's brother like that, I think that, and then it's a combination of just talking too much on social media, just talking too much in the sense of, I think he said, that they were smoking weed in the Eagles locker room when we won the Super Bowl. Like, he said that on somebody's stream, like it was a big streamer, and he actually outed that Eagles like some like player, like he said it was crazy, and people were smoking weed in the locker room when we won the Super Bowl. And really, I think Howie and Jeffrey Lurie didn't like that at all, like that he kind of spilled a lot of beans.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. I'm like,
A lot of business on the it hurt the organization. They're already after the tush push. They're already after us, and they might try to throw hard knocks on us even this off season. So
yeah, we don't need all that, man.
yeah,
I do like his productivity, though, man. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it pans out, to be honest. Sometimes it's just, sometimes you just let certain things go. I don't know. We'll see. I'll let Howie cook. Let him do what he needs to do. We'll see what he can do.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
We'll see what he can do ultimately. I'm just pulling up my notes here. I was trying to just keep Facebook up too here so I can see if people are commenting in. Yeah, we won't keep this a sports one. We'll jump to the topic, but we'll keep you updated. If any big names come off the board or anything, feel free. We can put that in here. All right, guys. So societal temptation and storms. Like I said, the landscape is heavily polluted nowadays. Like I said, you have everything on demand nowadays. Whether it's unhealthy foods, Grubhub, DoorDash, alcohol, you can go puff things on demand, get things delivered to your house on the instant, on the fly. And I've seen that everywhere. I haven't even seen that just in this area. When I've traveled like to New Orleans and stuff, we were able to go puff alcohol. Like, it's just like you can literally get stuff on the fly. They're legalizing weed in a lot of other states. And look, I don't have a problem. I don't think anything is certain things are a problem in moderation, but the problem is majority of people are not consuming things in moderation. A lot of it is overconsumption. And it's hard for people to have a lot of self-discipline when it comes to certain places. Obviously, sport, like I'll give you an example. Alcohol, it's not a problem if you do it like socially and just once in a while, like a little bit once in a while. You don't want to overconsume it. Same thing can be said of gambling. If you do a little bit of parlays, you gamble. Hey, it's not a killer but when you're gambling like your mortgage for your house, this becomes a problem.
Yeah, I agree.
Sexual temptation, the same thing. Pornography, right? It's bad. I would actually say porn in general is really, really bad. It's you shouldn't really. Porn is just like really bad because it can really pollute you. But even that in moderation, say like, there's people that like will watch it, like if it's in moderation, but let's be realistic. Majority of people who watch porn aren't watching it in moderation. They're watching it daily or every couple days. And it can be really polluting to the mind. Me and Rich were actually talking about this the other day. Like it becomes a cycle. There's a lot of negative side effects that come with it. And it kind of leads to external lustful thoughts too, out in the open. So it's not just something you internalize. It can really, I'll just go from a man's perspective. I'm not talking from a woman's perspective, but from a man's perspective, it can really change how you see women. You know what I mean? Realistically, you can. Like it changes your perspective, especially if you're over consuming it.
Right.
So while release can be important, like moderation is very critical, but it can be a very slippery slope when it comes to certain things. Unhealthy food, same thing. If you're eating unhealthy food all the time and you're not taking care of your health, you're not, making healthy choices. Unhealthy food's okay once in a while, but anything in moderation. But majority of the time, it's overconsumption. So the landscape is polluted because now we have everything on demand. It's so quick. Back in the day, I'll give you an example with porn, right? You had to get magazines, right? You had to get stuff delivered to your house. You had to go out. You had to go buy it. And you had to go to the counter. And you had to have shame and embarrassment. These shame factors are no longer here because you can now just get stuff delivered to your place in discreet, like packaging, like stuff. It's crazy. Or you can just like, for example, porn, you can just go on a website, boom. And you can do it in the comfort of your home. Nobody would ever know. Alcohol, you don't even have to go out to the store to buy it. Delivered.
Got it right here.
Yep. Hey man.
Yeah.
You can just get everything delivered nowadays. Like you don't have to worry about, the shame of going out somewhere or like looking a certain way. And it becomes really, really dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you agree, but it's crazy now. It's
No,
polluted.
I agree, bro. It's all about accessibility, and of course, like you said earlier,
Yes.
drinking, if it's in moderation, if it's something that is something that you have, you know, in a very very strict lockdown. You can't necessarily be all over the place. You can't be like having bottles and bottles every night. I think drinking is legal, right? Just like smoking cigarettes are legal, but you have to determine for yourself as an individual how much are you willing to consume on a daily basis. So I'm not here to give it. Listen, I have no room to give anybody any speeches on any of this stuff, but one thing I will say is pornography is an accessibility thing at this point. Lust in general in this society, I think this society profits from lust. This is a capitalist society, and once this society finds a industry or a tool or something that they can profit off of it, that the society itself will therefore idolize that thing or pedestalize that thing. So this is why we see the OnlyFans coming up. This is why we see a lot of these like kind of like adult film stars are starting to be, like Mia Khalifa is like now she's almost kind of like a cultural, not icon by any means, but she's able to go into other industries and she's able to be more flexible. Certain guys who are working in what we are, and the YouTubers and stuff like that, guys like that are starting to go and make OnlyFans, and celebrities are starting to make OnlyFans, right? And make a lot of money. I think Bad Baby, she's not really, I don't really consider her a celebrity or anyone to look up to. Please, if your kids got anything having to do with her on their screen, I would just take the whole phone away. But Bad Baby, Bad Baby, the girl who was on Dr. Phil and everything. I think she said she made like, man, she had made like a good like, it was a lot of
Million.
money, man. It had to have been like 50, like
It was
20 million or something like that.
millions. Yeah, it was millions, man.
There was a lot of lustful dudes out there waiting for her to have her OnlyFans out there, bro. So this society has found a way to capitalize on lust, and since so now lust is now easily accessible, easily available, in forms of not just porn, but in forms of just regular like Instagram is almost like going on Instagram. If you click on the right things at the right time, it can kind of cause a domino effect and bring more things in. Like I said, like I told you about the WWE thing, man. I'm a big WWE guy. I love wrestling. And I was clicking on wrestling content. And then sometimes, the diva content can be a little bit, on the edge, a little bit provocative.
Yeah.
And when you click on that, then I clicked on China. China was a WWE wrestler that actually turned into a porn star. When I clicked on, I think one time I clicked on China, and then it just kept going, and it just kept domino. So Instagram will take whatever you click, and it will multiply that by 1,000. And then all of a sudden, you got all types of crazy content popping up. So you really can't, with Instagram, you really can't click on anything lustful, because it's going to give you that times 1,000. So you got to make sure that what you're clicking on when you go on social media is things that's going to build you, things that's going to motivate you, things that's going to uplift you, and things that are not going to, have you falling into those traps that are set particularly for men. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of these traps are set for men and women, but men I think feel it more. Men are the ones who, we have that testosterone. We have that
Lust is heavy in men, man.
Lust is heavy in men, man. And so those traps, they call them thirst traps. That's why they call them thirst traps, man.
Exactly. And you're absolutely right, brother. When it comes to that, once you start clicking on certain content, man, Instagram, that algorithm is going to navigate you towards specific content. There are ways that you can click on things and say, I don't want to see this anymore. And that's one thing I think you can do. And I think there's other ways too. I honestly don't have it in my notes, but look into it, guys. Like if you're, I know that there's ways that I think you can start to avoid that content, essentially purge, maybe reset the algorithm to reset it back. But yeah, once you start clicking on certain content, it's going to navigate you because it's going to think what it's ultimately going to think is it's going to think that that's content that you enjoy doing, you enjoy seeing. So what is it going to do? It's going to take you towards that content. That doesn't just have to be lustful content, but that's what happens. And Rich, you're right. It's like a domino effect. You start to see a girl like in a bikini or like a model on a beach, and then it starts to go to other things. But these things can lead to deeper thoughts. A lot of times I'll be on a post and a lot of men are commenting, what's her at? What's her OnlyFans? You know what I mean? Like when it'll be a girl's content and you see all these dudes, these thirsty dudes underneath.
Yep.
And I'm not here to judge. You know, I'm not God. I ain't someone who judge. You know, people go through tough times, tough seasons, you know, in life, and they're not always misguided. I'm not better than anybody. Because I've had my struggles with pornography too. So
we all have, brother. Everyone in some way, shape, or form, man. Exactly. Never be ashamed. Me as well, man. So don't ever be ashamed. You know,
man.
Society is built to make you feel like what you have, even if you're in a relationship, even if you're married. There's men who struggle with this, there's women who struggle with this.
Yes,
society is built to make you feel like what you have is not enough, and so it takes you, it takes me, it takes all of us to gain that sense of discipline, right? And that's what we're all works in progress. We're all working on that discipline to stay away from those things that's why they're traps. You know, that's why they're called traps. You know.
Yep. The devil works overtime in a lot of different ways. I was gonna say, yeah, we've absolutely everybody's all struggled with it, and I'm glad that you pointed out the fact. We'll say in this conversation, pornography, that can be a serious problem inside of a marriage. You know what I mean? If it takes away from sexual intimacy with your wife, it becomes a problem. If you get to the point where you have to hide it, it becomes a problem. It starts to be really, really bad. And like when you're struggling in these times, these are the things where you want to have conversations, with your wife about it. You know, a lot of people don't feel comfortable to do that because they think it's going to turn to a fight or argument. But you have to be. This is what we said last week: how important communication is in relationships, right? You have to be able to, have these conversations because look, we are not infallible. We men and women both. As soon as I'm just going off Christianity, the Bible, whatever. Adam and Eve, the moment they took the apple, right? We all are sinners. We're sinful by nature. We are not perfect human beings. The only one who's perfect is God. We're sinful by nature. And even though Jesus died for our sins and the grace of our sins, for forgiveness of our sins, we are still sinful. It doesn't matter. Like once our sins are forgiven, we still have the ability to go out and sin, and we will sin because there's no way you're not going to go through life without sinning. It's just inevitable. We're sinful by nature. So, we're not perfect, but it's about, like you said, with the shame, we got to have grace with ourselves and be forgiveness of ourselves because it doesn't change anything to be shame. Shame is a barrier, right? It'll keep you maybe from doing certain things. So in a way, maybe it's good, but at the same time, you have to be able to take action and be accountable from a level of self-discipline. And when you wallow in shame too much, shame can actually make you, ironically, go back down the same spiral. You can feel so low about yourself from a self-esteem level that you go right back into these habits. Well, I'm not worthy anyway, so I'm not worthy of a good life anyway, so I'm just going to keep doing these self-sabotaging behaviors, and it can become a real detriment. It doesn't just have to be with pornography; it can be with drinking, gambling, drugs, food. A lot of different outlets. Spending, overspending. Having negative spending habits. That's a big one too. Some people are obsessed with shopping, items, different types of things, consumerism. There's a lot of it out there. That's another one that's not talked about enough, consumerism, because now with the internet, right? We see things we like and we become, hey, I got to buy that or something. And I sometimes, I never extremely struggled with that, but I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I would buy stuff that I wouldn't even use. And I got to a point with that I will say is put it in your cart if you're going to buy something, if you really want to buy something online, and let it sit there for I'd say however long it needs, maybe a week, maybe 72 hours, and see how you feel about that item in those days or a week. And I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of items that you might be like, I don't even want this anymore. And like it was just kind of in the impulse of the moment that you wanted to buy something. So I don't know, that might not work for everybody. The time frames might be different for everybody. But when I used to just sit with it and not actually purchase it, that's when I realized a lot of crap. I'm like, I don't need to buy this. Like it's a waste. Like what am I? It was just an impulse decision, and I'm happy I didn't purchase it.
Yeah. And just going back to your point, man, just going all the way back to when you had first said, talking about the shame, like,
Yeah.
like one thing I will say about the shame, like shame will cause someone to hide something, and hiding someone, like shame will cause someone to hide something, and then someone hiding something will cause them to not confront it. So that's like I said, that's another example of the domino effect of what these things have on your mind, on how you handle situations. And I'll go as far as say, man, even as a man, that type of domino effect, like I commend you for sharing that. I commend us for sharing, any of our struggles with that, because a lot of men won't share it, and then they'll hide it, and then they'll, it causes them to hide other things in other areas of their life. So then there's multiple areas of your life where you're not confronting issues that you see, and it kind of takes away, in a way, it kind of takes away how men operate and how men come across, and their masculinity. When we don't do what we say we're going to do, when we don't confront certain things, man, that kind of starts to chip away at your masculinity.
Truly does.
And I'm not saying that confront. When I say confront, I'm not saying it has to be in some aggressive way, or it has to be in some type of, oh, I'm a man, I'm gonna do this. Nah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like just being able to address something, and whether that, you can address things in a respectful way, or confront things in a respectful way, and still come across as masculine, and not have to be disrespectful or animated, or anything having to do with aggression at all. But I think people appreciate someone who is willing to confront their own issues and their own problems.
100%. And I can actually say, this kind of goes into the living with intent thing. When it comes to masculinity, there's a book I'm actually reading and I love it. It's like the second time I'm reading it, but it's The Man the Moment Demands. But I will say this. In the book, it talks about you have to be able to have the tiger energy, but also the lamb energy. So what they mean by that is, or the lion energy and the lamb energy. So the lion energy is being willing to stand up for what you need, setting boundaries, but also stepping in situations where you need to protect other people, right? Could be your lady in life, you know what I mean? That's your wife, somebody disrespects you. You have to be able to step in confidently as a man, but not to the point where, and you also have to be able to defend yourself as a man too. It doesn't mean you always have to win a fight. The guy might be bigger than you and he might beat you, but guess what? To be able to at least make somebody afraid of you to the point where like you can hold your own. You know what I mean? I'm not backing down from you. I don't care how big you are. I don't care, whatever. You need to, as men, we need to be able to have that lion instinct in us, that masculinity in us, and that leadership role in us. But also, you have to be able to channel that energy to they say the lion energy and the lamb energy. And the lamb energy is the more soft side, the calm side. And you have to be able to think logically through things. You don't want to just, a lot of men have the lion energy 24/7. And it comes off as over aggressive. It comes off as overcompensating. They have to be hyper masculine at all times. And then what this does is this actually, Rich, just to your point, as men, we don't like to admit certain shames and stuff like that. What this does is it in this book is what this preaches is emotional incarceration. It doesn't allow us to drop our guard. It doesn't allow us to communicate our needs and to be open and honest because it'd be seen as weak. There's some men that will not be intimate with their woman in public, like even like small showings of affection because they think it makes them look unmasculine. That's just one example, but there are a ton of other examples of men just try to always project an outward image. And you have to be able to have a mix. You have to be able to be a leader. You have to be a protector and provider as men, but you also have to be able to have that emotional side where you can have that emotional depth and be able to think, hey, let me listen, let me hear everything before I react. Like,
exactly. Anger is a secondary emotion. So
yes,
it's like, if you can't control your anger, if every time I got an issue, which you want to go straight to war, you want to go straight to physical fighting someone or getting angry at somebody, then that tells me that you can't control your temper, you can't control your anger, you can't control your feelings, and that is more of an emotional trait. That's more of a something that, like, I think a lot of men, especially back in the day, thought that you fight it out and then you squash it and that's it. But at the end of the day, it shows actually like kind of like a caveman intelligence, like a lack of intelligence, and everything has to be altercation or a physical thing. You know what I'm saying? I think the best way to handle things is honestly talk it out. Honestly, get to the deeper issue, because anger is a secondary emotion. What's the emotion under that? What's the hurt or the pain that's under that? And then that's when you're gonna actually, and this goes into my studies, man. Like I said, marriage and family therapy. It's important to study. This is how you keep families together. Because if your mind is trained to meet adversity with aggression or meet adversity with being guarded, what's going to end up happening is you're just going to push those people away who you love. You know what I'm saying? Those people who are actually there for you in your corner. So, but it's not even just about physical, man. It's like you said about gestures and mannerisms on a daily basis. If you're in public with your lady and you can't show affection, that might be an issue for that person. I know it's to each his own, but a lot of women won't go for that. Like some women are cool with that. They don't, they're not into PDA, and that's okay. But a lot of women will not go for a man that is like too afraid to show the world that, hey, this is my woman, I love her. They're not afraid to show that. They're not afraid to be vulnerable in front of the world with their woman there, with their person. And so, yeah, man, I completely agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, we want to get to a point where we can be our true, authentic selves, and a lot of men just have this mask on. They have this mask on where they have to do this, and honestly, it kind of makes them miserable. To be honest, you can't even be your true, authentic self. But that's why there's a difference between the comprehensive man and the masculine man. So comprehensive man, he encompasses the traits of both his masculine side, but also, I'm a big believer that we have energies in both sides, right? You have your divine masculine side, and then they'll call it a feminine side, but it's more so you're more in touch with your emotions, emotional intelligence, which is very important, and that kind of is where it embodies the comprehensive man. You can carry out both. It's not easy.
I challenge that though, bro. Why does emotional intelligence have to be associated with femininity?
It just is. You know what I mean? It just is. I don't say that, but there's like a lot of research. I agree. I agree with you on that. But it's just like certain traits like leadership and providing is associated with masculine energy, right? It's just
right.
It's where it's associated. They call it divine masculine energy and your divine feminine energy. But I actually would say that's not a bad thing. I think some men be like, whoa, feminine energy. I don't got feminine. But that is an insecurity. It's an insecurity, the fact that you can't acknowledge it. I'm not saying that you should be over emotional, super feminine. That's why I said you have to have both sides of it. Yeah, no woman's gonna want a man who's over emotional. She's not gonna want a man who is you know what I mean, super feminine. Yeah. Like a woman, I mean, any women can come in. So women want their men to be the rock. They want to be immovable and solid, especially in times of chaos. Men can go through things, and they can absolutely go through breakdowns. But the majority of the time, you want your man to be. Most women want their man to be solid. In times of chaos, when they're getting erratic, they're getting emotional. They want their man to be there and to be able to say, "Hey, it's going to be okay."
Yeah. I think they want that exterior and how they carry themselves and how they present themselves to the world and how they handle situations is solid. But I do think women do want a man that is, one, emotionally stable, and you got to be in touch with your emotions. Like, you got to understand your emotions in order to be emotionally stable. If you don't understand if you don't have emotional intelligence and you're just a dude walking around with no emotional intelligence, that actually tells me that you're not able to actually control your emotions in tough times.
Yeah.
So then when times get tough, usually we see that guy on the side of the street arguing with his girl. He's real animated. He's like, yo, he's yelling. He's all animated. He's got his hands. And it's like, that's what I think of when I think of people with no emotional intelligence. Is they're not solid. They're not presenting themselves to the world as a man that's, a part of that emotional intelligence have associated to me with being like a rock,
Yep. And when I see men act like that too, I think internally, what hardships and trauma are these men harboring that is unresolved? Because there's unresolved probably trauma underneath of there, whether they grew up in a broken household, whatever it was. There's some type of unresolved trauma there that's allowing the man to get off the center and to be able to get like that. Now, look, we are human beings. So I would be a liar if I sit up here and say, men are always going to be solid and we're going to be this. And, even the most solid man might go through a tough time where he breaks down. He might do a good job of controlling the circumstances where he steps away and stuff like that. But there's going to be times where a man will show emotions. We are human beings by nature. We're not robots. But that's the thing. You want to be able to, that's okay. I think you have to be able to have grace with that. I think if a woman would run the first time her man does that, like even if he's always been her rock and everything like that, that's probably not the right person for her. And she's probably has her trauma is probably there too, because I'll be honest, the moment a man shows a little bit of emotion, if a woman's like, well, I don't want a man like that, it's like, hey, you're entitled to be whatever. A woman is entitled to be with a man that she wants, just like a man is entitled to be with a woman that he wants. But I would say I don't think that's healthy. The moment you're going to run, the moment a man show, you know what I mean? If he's been your rock this entire time and the moment you show a little bit of emotion, she's going to run, And likewise, if a woman, has like it's argumentative with a man, you know what I mean? The dude's, I'm out of here. Like it's not healthy either way. But you're right. I think of the same thing when I see emotional intelligence versus, not emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, man. Like, I agree with what you said in the sense of like, as long as the emotions that you're showing aren't like toxic or harmful to the other person.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because there are emotions that are harmful to other people that you can show. Like, that's just like,
100%.
If you like, you want to get how you feel out. I'm not debating that. But if you do it the wrong way, man, you may break ties with people. You may do something that can have people see you differently. That's what I'm saying. And you want to be careful of doing something like that. You want to make sure that the way that you do it is healthy.
I agree with you 100%. Yeah, because in anger we could say things that you can't take back. You know what I mean? What I was basically referring to is a man who kind of breaks down in terms of like he might cry or whatever. It's like, a man, we struggle a lot of times. Men a lot of times we struggle silently. That's why I think it's good to have people around you that you can be vulnerable with and be open to, because we struggle a lot silently. I'm not saying women don't have struggles too, but a lot of times women, they're more open about it. A lot of men, we struggle, we don't talk about certain things. And that's where I'm coming to like a realization in life is like, it's not healthy. You know what I mean? It's not healthy to do that. You have to be able to speak up and talk about things. It's not good to harbor things. It's not good to hold on to things. And you want to release it. But you need to have people around you that you can trust to be open and vulnerable with. And if not, you have to go through third party, through counseling, therapy, whatever it is. But it's unfortunate that not everybody has that outlet, because there are people around people that have given them a reason not to trust to open up to people, because the moment they go through a tough time, somebody throws it right back in their face. They use that as ammunition. So
yeah, that's true, dog. That's definitely true, bro.
there was
gotta be careful with the people who you are open to showing or exposing those emotions to. Most definitely gotta be careful, because those same people could go to somebody else and and it goes down from there, that relationship. So But
Yeah.
yeah, man. One thing I will say in relationships, and one thing I will say is, I think my pet peeve is when people say stuff and then they're like, "Oh, I didn't really mean that." Like, people who like they communicate one thing and then they want something else. And I think that that's for me. I'm a very like straightforward person. I don't like play games or BS. Like in my like personal life, like in my relationships, I'm just like kind of like I tell it how it is, and I'm straightforward. And I think a lot of people like they will either sugarcoat or they will what they'll cap, bro, and it will be a situation to where it's like maybe someone in a relationship will think they're doing something right and they're not, and that person will be like, "Oh, it's okay," and then it's not okay though, and that's one thing for me. And sometimes, as my boy Raul shared with me, that sometimes that can be cultural too. Like sometimes in some cultures, like people will not point out like things that they aren't happy with. Like they expect the other person to know or find out about it or understand ahead of time. Basically, mind read, be a mind reader.
Nobody's a mind reader. It's just, I don't care if you're a man or a woman. I know women are more into a lot. I will say this: women, I think, are naturally very intuitive. I'm not saying men aren't, but I do notice that women are a little bit more intuitive than men are a lot of times. But at the end of the day, I don't care how intuitive you are. Nobody's a mind reader. Um, as a healthy and effective communication is essential. And I'll be honest, I've never ever been the perfect communicator. I'm kind of rewiring myself as I go through life now to understand that. I've been very open to say that I love my parents to death, but deep conversations is one of the things that 100% has definitely been a struggle in my life. But I acknowledge it. I notice the issue. It's something I'm trying to rewire because when I have children of my own, I don't want my children to not be able to come to me to have these conversations. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you're right. But you're right, brother. Nobody can mind read. This is we don't have superpowers.
Yeah, man. And it's a lot of people walking around who, you know, expect everyone to know, like not everyone, but expect their significant other, and it's, I mean, and I will say this. It's a difference between someone who's been in a relationship for maybe a year or two, or maybe even 3 years, than someone who's been in a relationship for 10 plus years or something like that. Like at that point, like 10 plus years, you should probably know some things. I'm gonna be honest with you. You should probably, even after, maybe I would say maybe even after 6 years, you should probably know some things like about your partner, in the sense that what they do and don't like, what they will and won't, and just like
You pick up on communication patterns and you become in
yeah,
sync with that person. I agree with that. I 100% do. There's certain things that you should, obviously, they kind of become common sense at a certain point because you've been together so long. But I will say it is still healthy to speak up about your needs. Like I'm telling you guys out there, don't just, if the person isn't picking it up, you might become frustrated. You'd be like, this person should know me. This person should this. But the healthiest way to go about it is to be able to communicate our needs to each other. No matter if they might hurt the other person. That's why I say you talk in ways where you don't accuse the other person. You talk about how you're feeling. Hey, I feel hurt when you do this. I feel this. You do, and that's the healthiest way to go about it. And if you love the person, that's how you're going to communicate that thing. And this doesn't just have to even be relationships. This could be friendships, family. You communicate your needs, but you do it in a loving, respectful way because you love and respect those people. So you do it. It's not like it's a strategy. Oh, I'm trying to soften things. No, you do it because you genuinely love and respect those people. Don't come from an accusatory frame. Because guess what? If your partner did that to you, or your friend or your family member did that to you? No, you wouldn't. You'd probably get defensive. So you have to come from a healthy spot. But I agree with you, Rich, that once you've been with someone so long, you become in sync with them, And maybe they did tell you things too, and you weren't listening. Because I'll tell you, guilty right here. You know what I mean? Maybe they're telling you things and you weren't listening fully. Maybe you thought you were listening, you were hearing them, but were you really listening?
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right, man. I think we're all guilty of that. I think
Yes,
there's
sir.
no perfect way to um, run a relationship. I think we can all do our best, but really, it's really case by case basis. What you have to really, that's why they have this book, that we presented last time, the 5 love languages, right? Because there's no one way to do it. There's different ways to do it. But the trick about it is that only some relationships fit this or that different way. So a lot of relationships don't work out because they don't realize, hey, you're trying to go by one formula. Your relationship's not going to work that way, bro. You got to go by another formula, in order for things to work out right. So check out that book that I present. Actually, I think I might have that joint right here again. Let me
Yep,
see.
and you should know your partner's love language, because even if they're not speaking up about it, 5 love languages.
You gotta get this book, yo. If you're in a relationship, if you're looking for a relationship, if there's a situation where you just trying to understand even yourself more. Forget the relationship. Even if
Yep.
you're trying to understand yourself more, and you trying to, you will understand,
And there's quizzes.
how what does someone need to do to show me love, and I can feel it. That's something that there's a book that's going to help you out with that. So
I would encourage everybody to take the quizzes too. There's online quizzes where you can get your results, whether you're just doing it for your own to understanding, or if you as a couple want to do it, because I think that's healthy to do. And it doesn't matter if you're just starting to date, or and you just got into a relationship, or you guys have been together 10 years, 20 years, whatever. Maybe you guys never really took the time to understand each other's love language. I would say, take that time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. In the back of the book, it has the quizzes too.
Cool.
In the back of the book. But obviously, if you can't afford the book, or if you
can just do it online for free. Yeah,
do it online for free.
Yep, exactly. It's completely free, and it goes through a pretty extensive quiz to break it down. And that's the thing too. It helps you understand your partner more. Maybe even if they're not speaking up about something, if you know what their love language is, say for example, theirs is spending quality time. And maybe you haven't been spending quality time with the person, but the person is just staying silent about it. They're not speaking up for what they need, but it's hurting them. See, that's something you'd be in tune with if you knew what their love language was. And we can break them down. So the 5 love languages, we talked about it last week. Also want to give a shout out, my guy Josh down here. Josh, what's up, brother? He said in facts. Appreciate you, my brother. Yes, sir. Appreciate you. So the five love languages, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. They are quality time, gift giving, acts of service, physical touch, words of affirmation.
Got it.
Those are the 5. Yep.
That's 5.
Yes, sir. Josh said, yo.
Yeah, man. That's I mean, that's the general, and I mean, we're both Christian. Everybody's not. This book isn't per se like a Christian book, but it does have a Christian base or Christ-based element to it, so and that's something that is like, that's what we hold dear to us in our hearts as Christians. There's a certain standard that comes with that, and all of us fall short, of the ultimate standard. All of us fall short.
We do.
You see. But the good thing about that is, God has mercy and grace, He
does.
So come to Him, if there's something that you have questions about, or anything like that, just go to a really great Bible-based church, not any church. Not all churches are Bible-based. Some of them are based off of, what can God do for me? If you're not ready to dedicate your life and dedicate yourself to growth, then sure, fine. Maybe church isn't the place for you. But if you go to a really good Bible-believing church, I really do believe that, and we're all not there. That's why me and Steve are saying here, like, hey, we're not judging you, because I'm obviously not there. You're not there. I think we're all working to get to that place. And yeah, man. I feel good about this podcast, man. I feel good that we can sit here and actually talk. I wish we could have some more ladies on here tonight. Unfortunately, everybody's got stuff going on, but once we get there, man, we're gonna have, things on. I think we had a good amount of people, a good mixture last podcast. if I'm not mistaken. Last podcast was a good mixture, but
we did. We had one after hours where it was like a perfect. It was like a 4 women, four guys. I think it might have been our part 6 that we had, or part 5, but we had like a solid mix. Yeah, it's hit or miss sometimes. Everybody's schedule. It's hard to conjure everybody up on a Thursday, all the time. Not everybody can do it. Some people got kids, some people are married. Some people got work responsibilities. It's not always easy, but like Rich said, when it comes to the church, find the church that fits your vibe, that you're gonna feel like you're at home when you're there. You know what I mean? Because not all churches are gonna fit you. What church works for me or Rich might not work for you. And I think a lot of people get caught up in what churches is. They think it's religion, cults. People believe that a lot of times. You have to just go to experience it yourself. So a certain church that might be right for one is not going to be right for the other. You know what I mean? There's not universally a church that's going to match. But yeah, man, I'm going to get into real quick as we're getting towards the hour mark here. Some of the ways that you can ultimately avoid temptation. One of the best ways, so in my notes here that I have, one of the best ways that I believe it is situation selection. So being very selective of the situations that you put yourself in. So what I have here is, whenever possible, avoid any situations that will confront your temptation. For instance, if you're tempted to eat junk food, stay away from fast food restaurants. Don't even drop by them, and don't even go down the snack or baked goods aisle of a supermarket. We all know, most people know this, not everybody does. The outlet of a supermarket is majority of the healthy foods, like the produce section, the meats, seafood, all this stuff, the dairy, where you can get your dairy products, are all on the outside of the store, and a lot of the garbage is in the middle of the store. You ever notice that? You have to walk to the back. You don't really. You could lap around the building and get all your healthy stuff. The majority of the store layouts are all the garbage food is in the middle. All your snacks, cakes, all the stuff. It's usually how it is. But that's an example. If you're a gambler, delete all your sports betting apps. I would say lustful, you can get a porn blocker on your phone. Different things. Like I said, the algorithms on Instagram, the social media sites, are going to go after what you click. There's ways that you can reset your algorithm. You have to look up how to do it. But just don't put yourself in specific situations. If you're trying to avoid alcohol, don't go to parties where alcohol is going to be there. You know what I mean? Or just stay away from those situations. You know what I mean? If you feel like you can't control yourself, some people can control themselves, but not everybody can. So I would say be very mindful of yourself and situation selection. And the other one I would put in here, and then I'll let you kind of, if you have any, situation modification, bro. So essentially, if you can't completely avoid a situation that may involve temptation, and sometimes external circumstances just come on us, do what you can to reduce the pull. So if you're at a party or a club, for example, and you don't want to drink alcohol, what I would say is stay as far away from the bar as possible and try to connect with some of the people that are maybe not drinkers. You know what I mean?
Well, they got these new bars out. I would even advise you to check out these new bars that they only have alcohol-free drinks at these new bars. So do some research on that. As the MFT intern in here, bro, I got to always advise. Like, first and foremost, Steve's advice is immaculate. Follow Steve's advice.
I appreciate you, man. I'm not better than anybody else, man. I just try to stay transparent, brother.
Yeah,
yo, I don't actually ever try to do this, man. But I've been drinking a lot of water, man. I'm gonna be transparent with y'all right here. I'm gonna use the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back, bro. Give me like 1 minute. I'll let you say your piece, bro. I'll let you say.
No. I got my little spill while you're going anyway.
Cool.
So, while the host right here is doing his thing, what I do want to say and what I do want to advise, right, is that from an MFT intern perspective, marriage and family therapy, always study everything that you're going through, right? Look at things from a psychological standpoint, because a lot of the battlefields that we go through is in the mind, right? So sometimes we can't physically do some of these things that Steve's talking about unless we confront what's in our mind first, right? I'll give you an example. Sometimes we may need to do a little bit of research on food and our personal psychological relationship with food. If every time I get upset and I overeat, right? Let's do some more research. Let's educate ourselves on what that looks like, right? So that we'll understand how to battle that. So once you read books, maybe it's books. Maybe you need to go to counseling or therapy. because you're overeating. So you need to evaluate your relationship with food and confront that relationship because it's not a healthy relationship. Um, Same thing with pornography, same thing with gambling. You have to you have to tackle things from a mental standpoint. If some people, when they get upset, or excuse me, when they get disappointed, they run to that thing, whatever it may look like. So make sure that when you're upset, you're in a negative state of mind, that you're running to these healthy things that are going to build you up, that you're not running to things that are going to pull you down even more for instant gratification. So that's just my little piece of advice.
Cool, man. Keep me update me. What were you going into, Stock?
No, yeah. So I just mentioned, like, for example, like someone's relationship with food. When you had mentioned like food and someone's, like, I was saying, do some of the psychological research into their, maybe see a counselor about that and try to find out where their relationship with food started.
True.
Sometimes it wasn't always like that. When did it get like that? If it was always like that, where can we find the source mentally as to why my relationship with food is so negative? Why is it every time I get upset or disappointed, I have to run to food? Let's talk about it. What can I replace that with?
Yep.
What healthy thing can I replace running to food with? And it's the same thing with gambling. It's the same thing with pornography. It's the same thing with, find that barrier within your mind. The battlefield is in the mind. So, yeah.
Exactly. It's our biggest enemy right here. It can work for us and it can work against us. Um, I agree with you, man. A lot of times our temptations, our triggers, they come from certain levels of, um, shame, or it could be fear, whatever it is. But we have to figure out what the triggers are. What is the reason why we do what we do? Like if it's gambling, drinking, eating unhealthy, what causes it? You know what I mean? For example, like you brought up unhealthy foods. Could it be we're doing it to make ourselves feel better because we're going through a tough time, and hey, eating unhealthy foods, it makes us cope. It's a coping mechanism, you know what I mean, to make us feel better, but it's not necessarily a positive coping mechanism. So it's like, how can I cope better? What can I replace this with? Give you an example. I had a guy I knew was friends with him. Unfortunately, God rest his soul, he's no longer with us. But he had issues with drugs, but he was turning his life around. He got into the gym and started like lifting weights, and he put on all this muscle mass. Man, he was so skinny. He like put on all this muscle mass, but he was always straight up. He told me he had replaced, like he had been working on replacing his addiction with another addiction, a healthier addiction, something that was better for his, obviously going to the gym, lifting weights, was his release.
Right.
So he replaced it with a healthy addiction, you know. So it gets deep, man. That's why I said, some of it requires counseling and therapy, and that's okay. It's all right. I think I'll say this isn't. I always say that our content isn't just for men; it's for women too. But I'll say, just speaking from a man's perspective, a lot of men have so much pride that they don't want to go to therapy. They look at it as feminine, soft. They don't want to do it. They don't want to be vulnerable. But I'll be honest, like I think anybody in this world can benefit from therapy. I don't care if you're a man in this life or a woman, and you're firing on all cylinders. You're firing on all cylinders in terms of your purpose, your mission. You're in the best shape of your life. You are, you have great relationships with those around you. You really strengthen those relationships. You could be firing on all cylinders in life, doing well in every area. I still think people can still benefit from therapy, because we all have inner parts, and I think that sometimes those parts get neglected. Our
Right.
pride, our anger, our fear, our shame, and then the positive parts too. Our joy, our happiness, our hope. Those parts get neglected. And there's definitely, and maybe it's not even in every season, but I'll say this: I think in everybody goes through seasons of life that are not all sunshine and rainbow. So while your life might be going really well right now, there may be a season that approaches where, you might need to reach out for therapy. So
Yeah, man.
don't ignore it.
When you talked about parts, man, the first thing that came up from me in my head was IFS, IFS therapy. If anyone wants to just Google IFS. You know, I is in Isaiah, F is in Frank, S is in Sam. IFS therapy talks about the parts, right? The protectors, the firefighters, the things that try to, you know, protect the true self. You know, the self that there's a part of you inside you that is you know, underneath all that trauma, right? Underneath all that pain, right? And sometimes our minds are catered towards protecting that part of you, and they have these things in front of that act as almost like an onion, right? It's like barrier after barrier. That's why a lot of us walking around the world got hard exteriors, right? Or you know, even a hard way of talking to people or a hard way of seeing people. Some people relationship with people are so bad. Some people don't want to associate with people. They only want to associate with animals. Like they don't even want to talk to people or engage with other people. And you know, that's unhealthy. You know what I'm saying? Like it's healthy to have a good relationship with animals. Don't get me wrong. I love animals myself, but to the extent where you're blocking out human interaction, right? You know, a lot of that has to do with trauma, you know, and a lot of that has to do with someone's outlook on other human beings, you know. And a lot of that outlook, a lot of that skepticism associated with other humans has to do with any pain or trauma, you know, that they personally endured.
Yep. And we're just and it's just essentially masking it. Yeah, we're social creatures by nature. You know, some people are extroverted, some people are introverted. But ultimately, we're social creatures by nature. They've done experiments on this where a guy like locked himself in his apartment for 30 days or something like that. And by the time those 30, like he wasn't allowed to talk to anybody, phone, no nothing, bro. Nothing to the outside world, bro. No human connection at all. And the guy went like, I mean, he had a YouTube channel. He went like crazy, man. We're wired for it. So it's like when we take it away, a lot of times, yeah, it can be trauma. But like I said, people are definitely some people are extroverted, some people are introverted. They tend to keep to themselves. But yeah, you're right. I've seen it, man. They just have connections with animals. But here's the thing, because animals can't challenge them. You know what I mean? That's a thing too.
Wow.
You know, animals can't challenge us to be better. They can't challenge us to face certain things.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So
that's crazy, bro. That was powerful, bro. Yo, follow this man. Yo, follow this podcast. Yo, follow the YouTube channel, follow the podcast.
Appreciate you, bro.
Man, that was something heavy, man. You can't get that anywhere but here, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. That was pretty powerful what you just said.
Yeah, I appreciate you, bro.
Wow.
But it's the truth. A lot of people don't want, like, they don't want to be challenged, so they'd rather. Animals can help provide us comfort and support, right? Like they help us.
Yeah.
They help us. You know, they say petting an animal can actually like reduce stress, but at the same time, like an animal's not going to challenge you. It's not going to speak back to you. It's not going to, you know, it's not going to challenge you on certain things to grow and to heal and to be involved. You know what I mean? I love animals, man. I'm an animal lover myself, man. I love cats. I love dogs. I love all animals, man. I'll be in nature. I see deers and stuff like that. Like I don't touch them because, you know, ticks and stuff. But bro, I love animals. But at the same time, I also like human interaction, and I also like. I've gotten to a point of life where I was younger. I didn't like being challenged, man. I did not like being humbled. I didn't like being challenged. You know, I was set in my ways, very prideful, and I still got pride. You know, I'm a man. I still got some pride for sure. Like it's something I'm working on. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm in a spot now where I actually encourage the challenging situations. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes you say that, but in the moment, you know, you're like, oh, it kind of humbles you, right? But it's the only way to grow is to be challenged. It's the only way, you know, it's the only way to grow. I'd rather be challenged now than be 20 years down the line. I got people around me, nobody's challenging me. I'm just staying stagnant and I'm not growing. Because I do believe, you know, in life, God has a higher calling for everybody. You know, you go through seasons where you're doing something now, but I do believe you should always be growing and evolving in all areas of your life. You know, that means, you know, it could be physically in terms of your body, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. We always want to grow. I actually, do you actually know this, bro? I heard something the other day. I was actually, where did I hear this at? I think I was listening to some type of podcast, and the guy said that the average human being who graduates high school only reads 2 books the rest of their life. Only reads 2 books the rest of their life, bro. Like that includes audiobooks, like listening. Like they said the average human being only consumes 2 books the rest of their life after high school, after you graduate high school. That's crazy, man. Like it's crazy to think. Like I
Here, like what this is the US or is it a world study?
I think it was US. I
Sounds
believe it
crazy.
was US. I would have to refer back to get the actual facts, but I heard this and I was just like, wow. And it was from a reputable source. It was a podcast, but it was like, wow, that's crazy. And I'm assuming it doesn't take into account people who go to college, because in college you obviously have to. So maybe that study could also be altered for people who went to college. But I also think, I'm not saying people, but a lot of people who go to college, I think, continue to read things. Maybe I'm not trying to put people down who don't, you know what I mean? Of course,
doctors and stuff, man. Like they
continue to read as they go throughout. But it's crazy to think, because I'm like, I've listened to audiobooks and read books like since I graduated, but I'm like, I still could be doing more. Because you ever hear what they say CEOs read, like a book, like I forget how many books they say the average CEO reads a year.
Well, they got the money. They got the money to do that, you know.
Yeah, but also the time, bro. Like, because I mean, you think a CEO is a busy person, man or woman. That's a busy person.
They go on vacations though, bro. I mean, when they're chilling on the beach, you can read a book right there. You know.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that would choose not to. See what
That's
I'm
true.
saying?
That's true. There's a lot of people. Yeah.
So
That's
there's
true.
a lot of people.
That's true. Me being one of them. If I'm going on vacation, I'm not reading a book. I'm gonna be real, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you, 100%, man. I'm out probably meeting people, talking to people, enjoying different excursions and stuff. Probably trying to explore and see historical sites. Like I'm trying to see it in the real, you know, in the real thing, bro, in the real time. You feel me? So
yes, sir.
but no, reading is important. Reading is important.
It is, and we all learn differently. Like I said, me and my buddy Bryce, we were just talking about this the other day. I like a good, like if I really like a book, I will love to read it, consume it. But if it's a book that I like, I just like, and I'm trying to get, and like I'm just trying to get through. I'm not like in love with the book. I am just more of an auditory learner. Like I like to listen to audiobooks and be able to lock in that way through auditory learning. But I'm not gonna lie, like I think it is good to read a book too, because it visually stimulates you, and I think things stick with you a lot more when you read things too on a paper copy. Yeah, the average CEO reads about 60 books a year, which is 5 books a month. That's a lot of books, man.
That's a lot of books, man.
Let me see.
Knowledge.
Now let me see if I say the average American and see what this is. I remember that thing for I just didn't know the exact number, but I know I saw something for the CEO. The average American reads.
Average American's probably like 1 to 5.
This is a median 4 books a year.
Okay, so I was somewhere in there.
Yeah, so 4 books a year.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
you know, we have access. You know, like I said, it's about access to. We have access to ebooks now, audiobooks. Like they got the Kindle out. You know, we got all types of stuff going, and then we got a lot. We don't have a shortage of bookstores or anything. I mean, there's Amazon. You know, people get books off of all the time. So we have a plethora of resources. It's just like, are we going to use those resources to build us up, to bring us closer to God, or are we going to use those resources to pull us farther away from God and as idols? And that's the thing that you know, that's the difference, man. Is that's honestly the difference, is the people who want to seek God. It says, seek my kingdom first, and everything else will be provided to you. You know, and so
yeah, put him first. You got to put him first, and then let him be the God through your life. You know, he comes first, and that's not just before you. It's before your wife, your kids, everything. Like he comes first, and like a lot, like, and it doesn't mean those people are not at the top priority of your life. That's not what I'm saying, but God does come first, and foremost, and if you follow God, you'll be able to follow. You read the Bible, you follow God. You'll be able to understand how to be, like, I'll just go from a man's perspective, you know, to lead as a husband, to be a good husband, to be a good father to your children. You go through God. Josh said, "That's good. Appreciate you, brother." But yeah, that's kind of how it is. He sets the blueprint, right? And we're all called to do different things in this life. That's why it's good to have, be able to, on a deep level, be able to pray, be able to talk to God, have those conversations with God, because we're all called to do different things in this world, to make an impact in this world, but just in different ways. We all have different callings,
Yeah, man, I agree. And God will take you to whatever calling that you have, So even if you don't know what your purpose is or your calling is and you're confused about that, just seek God first and he's going to bring you. It's naturally you're going to walk that path when you seek God. So I appreciate, man, you having me on here, bro. It's been a pleasure. I think a lot of knowledge has been dropped tonight, man. And when we're speaking, y'all, we're speaking from pain, we're speaking from experience, and most importantly, we're speaking to ourselves too. So I don't want, the audience needs to know, like, hey, all this stuff that we're saying, is stuff that we're working on ourselves in all of these areas. We're continually working on ourselves in each area. Some areas we may be stronger in than others, but it's a continual thing. It's a continual fight. That's why they say fight the good fight. You feel me? It's a continual thing, man. Just struggling.
Personal development is never ending. It's never ending. Your entire life, personal development is, so it's always a thing.
Yep.
You're always growing, always evolving.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. But yeah, man, thank you for having me on here. Unfortunately, I do have to head out, man. But it was a pleasure to come on and talk to Locked In Nation, man. Locked In Podcast, bro. Keep putting into the well, man. Keep putting your seeds into social media, putting your seeds into everything, man. God is going to reward you greatly for it. But thank you for including me in this.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time, brother. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on here tonight, man. I appreciate that. I was gonna say before we go, man, where's the pick at for the draft? NFL draft.
I got all the updates, man. I'm with you. So Giants did take Abdul Carter. I think it was at number 4 or something like that. So that was one tough update for me to see, man. I was not happy seeing him go to the New York Giants. Hopefully his career won't be wasted there. But they took a couple. Arizona wide receiver. I think he went to the Panthers. I forgot his name. We got a couple of things going on. I know San Fran just got a pass rusher from Alabama. I forgot what his name is. He was a good pass rusher. But, yeah, man, as I expect, it's a big combination of mostly offensive linemen and defensive linemen, edge rusher, stuff like that. I mean, you got a wide receiver, quarterback here and there. But really, not really. I think that, man, I don't know, man. I'm starting to feel like we might hold at 32 with what it's looking like, man.
That's what I think. That's what I think.
It's not like a ton of defensive players. Like it's how can I say? So it's a lot of offensive players that have been taken off the board here. I mean, you probably got 2 pass rushers so far that's been taken off the board, man. That's just great for us. I
feel like they're gonna hold it, man. It's gonna be like it's gonna be 12 midnight, bro. I ain't gonna be up for that.
Yeah, I mean, if we may or may not drop down, depending on how far. Like if people who were not expecting to drop, I can definitely see us trading down. But I hope we hold on, just because I do want a quality first round player. But at 32 is basically a second round pick. I mean, I guess it is basically a second round pick.
It is.
But I feel good, bro. Defense. We got this. Most of this draft, maybe minus 1 or 2 picks. I can see us taking the O lineman, just for depth. I can see us taking the tight end. If we're getting rid of Goddard in a trade this draft, that's the only offense I can see, really. The rest is just the lineman, really. Maybe a corner or a safety or a hybrid of that, nature. But it's mostly offense and it's mostly defense for Eagles that I see.
Right, that's what we mainly need. See, Philly 500's got the live stream up too.
Yeah, man. We got to make plans though to see the second part, day 2. But tonight's day 1. Everybody enjoy your night. I hope you heard a lot of great things. All we try to do is promote great things over here at Locked In Podcast. Check out my brand, activebrain.com. Christian-based customized brands for working out. On top of that, check out my YouTube channel. It's in the name below, Rich M Media. Okay, Eagles channel, faith-based channel as well. So I do promote, talk about Jesus Christ on there as well. But Eagles, EAGLES, Eagles. All right.
Birds. Go Birds.
Go Birds. And God bless. God bless.
Yeah, God bless. Thanks for coming on, brother. And to everybody else out there, have a great night, great weekend. We'll see you next week for episode 210. And that should be a good one, too. My guy Ray's going to be coming on, and we'll be talking about some good stuff. So have a good night, guys. Go weekend. Eagles, Super Bowl champs.
Don't
forget it. Let's go. Have a good night.